Vikings fans, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I got Adam Carlson.
I am sitting right here.
I got Kyle Smith.
What's up, everybody?
And we are this close to regular season football.
We are, even though the Vikings have to be the very last team to play their game. Well, I guess them and the 49ers if you're keeping score at home.
Save the best for last tonight, talking about the 49ers.
And that makes it sound like you were just really praising the 49ers, but that's okay. Let's keep rolling. This is episode number 168 of the Purple People podcast. This one is titled Flash of the Titans. I was going to name it There's Something About Mariota, but then I realized not everyone pronounces his name that way. And I'll probably get hate mail for pronouncing it that way. So, oh well, let's move on.
Everyone will get offended at everything.
I'm from up north. You know, a lot of us people up here. I know I sound Canadian at times, but it's just the way I say things. I'm sorry. But the quick hits. You got some old Viking stuff? That's cool. Minnesota Vikings want it for US Bank Stadium. They want old memorabilia. They want rare memorabilia. They want cool stuff. They want to post things up and let people know this is the history of the Minnesota Vikings. And in exchange for that, you get your cool piece of memorabilia up there on display, and you get your name in the stadium right there next to that thing. Could you imagine having your name on a plaque in the new US Bank Stadium right next to a legend like Fran Tarkenton or something like that? That'd be so awesome.
So that'd be amazing. Where do I sign up for this?
I don't know. You got any cool Vikings memorabilia?
No.
I admit most of my stuff's crap too. But oh well. Not everybody can have all the awesome stuff. I know there's some really cool stuff out there that people are going to submit.
I should send him my beer can that I saved that says, got the Vikings logo on it, and it says, like, last season at the Metrodome. I wonder if they'll put that on display.
There you go. So the Vikings ended up cutting a bunch of guys. Let's talk about the cuts because why not? Babs, we love Babs.
Babatunde
Babs is gone.
Ayagbusi.
Babatunde Ayagbusi. Last time we might be ever saying that name, but overall, there's a big old list of final cuts. None of them were really super surprising. On the list was Mr. Jump Cut himself, Jawan Harris, which I was pretty happy to see.
Mr. Jump Cut.
Watching him just run and jump cut. You can change directions without jumping in the air. Just plant your foot and push. You don't gotta do the hop jump.
It's because he came from Green Bay.
Sean Prater might be the most surprising cut of everyone on that list. Dominic Williams was a bit of a surprise for those that thought the team was going to keep 4 running backs. Fans, for some reason, seemed surprised that Michael Mauti was released. I don't. To me, that made perfect sense as although he had some big plays during the preseason,
he had one.
They came on plays where he was untouched and just was completely unaccounted for. I understand that a blocked punt is fantastic and a nice sack right up the middle is pretty cool, but when you're completely uncontested and
there were also
the Vikings have been honestly paying for him to be injured for
both of those plays were also way late in the game when he was playing against guys that you probably couldn't even call fourth string talent. So I mean, how much you want to read into that? Not much because they cut him, but he did sign with New Orleans, so maybe they think he can fit in their scheme. They still got Rob Ryan down there in New Orleans. Does anyone know?
Yes. No, hold on.
No, Rob.
He's there in. I thought he was back in Dallas. I don't know. It could be wrong. Every time you say that, I see his pot belly, so it gets confused.
Everybody loves those Ryan brothers. But yeah, he's still there as the defensive coordinator of the Saints.
Okay, well maybe Rob Ryan can get the most out of him.
I don't know if he can keep him healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I wish him luck on that though. Brian Peters was the guy I wanted to see stick on, but I was pretty glad to see that he made the practice squad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Along with B.J. DeBose, he was a draft pick this year. Sami Fasciani, who just made the move from defensive tackle to offensive line this year. Isaac Fruchti, who a lot of Vikings fans are excited about because of the local boy. Safety Anthony Harris, who showed some potential. we had a couple other guys on that fullback, Blake Renaud, which personally I think the only reason he's stuck on a practice squad is because Zach Line is currently hurt, and they're trying to have a backup for him just in case.
Stop me if you've heard that statement before. Zach Line is currently hurt.
Brandon Watts, like I said, I was glad to see him make the squad. Running back Dominique Williams, he showed some good potential. Glad they were able to stash him away and that he wasn't taken. Uh, Guard David Yankee, who to me was probably one of the bigger surprises that was released, because I saw them moving him all over the line, even though he wasn't playing very well at many of the positions. I thought that he was going to be able to stick due to what he was able to accomplish out there playing the different spots, but he didn't. However, the only guy that made the practice squad that wasn't a member of the former Vikings squad was defensive lineman Zach Moore. Vikings fans may know Zach Moore from his time with the New England Patriots. He played in a couple games. He had a real nice sack on Jay Cutler that made a couple highlight reels. That was pretty cool. He also had a half a sack on, I believe it was Eli Manning. Either way, fans of Minnesota might know him from his time playing with the Concordia St. Paul Golden Bears.
Oh.
Minnesota sure loves those local boys.
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty happy with the practice squad overall. I think they actually got 9 guys that all have a lot of really good potential and good upside.
Yeah, all 10, pretty
for
solid.
all of them. I like it. Or excuse me, all 10 of them.
Yeah, they got a pretty solid group there. I don't really understand the Blake Renaud thing because keeping a fullback doesn't even make sense to me. So keeping 2 fullbacks I'm even less happy about.
Well, I'm sure he's got to be better than Zach Line, so.
Well, since Zach Line's injured, I'll say yeah, but you never know. We kind of glanced over all those cuts and releases pretty fast, so that's pretty cool. But what we didn't glance over, and we won't glance over, is Jeremiah Searles. He was traded from the Chargers to the Vikings. This is the guy that I'm really excited about. He can play every spot on the offensive line, including tackle, guard, center. They sent over a 6th-round pick in exchange for him. This is a guy that can add just immediate positivity to the depth of the offensive line. He graded out positively with Pro Football Focus during his time there. I know that Chargers fans were saying, "Oh, he was just going to get cut anyway." This guy was not going to get cut. The problem is that they did have some competition for the position, and since they were debating between 2 and they got an offer of a pick for one of them, you kind of got to take the pick if you have any kind of question, you know. So I get that, I do.
Mm-hmm. And it was, what do you say, Adam, a 6th-round pick?
Yeah, and Vikings Nation just kind of went in a little bit of an uproar about that, trading a 6th-round draft pick for an offensive lineman.
See, I'm not. I love it. I mean,
this is my favorite news of the week.
Yeah,
it's fantastic news.
You give up a 6th-round pick for a guy with that kind of position flexibility. I mean, it's the chances of you throwing a dart at a dartboard in the draft in the 6th round and getting a lineman with the potential.
A lineman that versatile?
Yeah, it's like you're probably not going to do that.
The versatility and the fact that he had a positive grade. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know how they could spin that negative. It's kind of a steal, assuming it all works out. You know, he stays healthy and whatnot. But this was my favorite news of the week. Absolutely. I thought it was smart, especially a Big Phil going down. It's just like corners. It's every position. You can never have enough depth. And hey, more protection for Teddy means we're going to score a lot of points.
It's true. Cornerback Josh Robinson will start the season on the reserve PUP list. Vikings fans not sure how to react to that information. Josh Robinson has a pretty bad reputation throughout Vikings Nation for giving up big plays, but to be fair, a lot of the times in the past he was put up against players that almost any cornerback in the league wouldn't have been able to stand up to. Situations that were just out of his control.
You're going to go cover Brandon Marshall.
Yeah.
Who's got you beat in like every measurable. Just go do that. Okay, Leslie Frazier. If that's what you say.
Sad day as Christian Ponder got cut by the Oakland Raiders. Matt Castle got cut by the Buffalo Bills. And I believe even Josh Freeman got cut down in Miami.
Yep. And I think McLeod Bethel Thompson also got cut.
He did.
Not a good day for former Vikings quarterbacks.
Unless you're T-Jack, everything's great for T-Jack.
I think he's hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt, but he can... he can heal up nicely sitting there while holding his Super Bowl ring.
Very true.
Oh, T-Jack.
Tells you how bad our quarterback situation was from a few years ago when every
It's
single guy
amazing
that was
looking
on the
back on it.
roster is currently unemployed.
Josh
Absolutely
Freeman. Oh my
crazy.
God, remember that horrible night and week? He had the top 10 worst over the preseason moments. I think he threw a pick six in Miami with all the third stringers to some D lineman that ran it back. So that's his career ending in a nutshell.
Our friends over at Minnesota Vikings men did a great mock-up of that where they did a throw chart of his misses and completions, and they did like some inside the stadium, some were even outside the stadium. It was great.
I don't understand what happened with Josh Freeman. That's an anomaly.
Yeah, who
I mean,
knows?
he should have all the talent to succeed. But
Now, I wasn't going to name this episode this week Flash of the Titans, but I decided to because of the news that Cordero Patterson was unhappy about playing in the Minnesota Vikings preseason finale against the Titans.
oh, sad fiddle for Cordero.
He didn't feel like he should have to go out there and play against these guys in what many people think of as a garbage time game where you're trying to evaluate talent. I guess he just felt like he wasn't above that he was above that. I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
Oh God, you already know what I'm going to say to that.
Well, as a former first round draft pick, you'd think that his position on the team was set anyway, that he was going to make the roster. Fans knew it. We all pretty much knew it. No matter what happened to that game, he was going to make the team because, let's face it, he's the kick returner right now. He's the Devin Hester.
He's going to make the team, but he still needs more reps on the field. He needs a hell of a lot more reps on the field because he needs to figure out what he's doing. Like,
This is going to sound, this is the fan in me that didn't play football, but watching my whole life. So many key components have to go right in the return game. And yes, he's an amazing athlete. I can't believe how fast he is for how big he is. But a lot of stars have to line for him to be able to run kicks back. And what he doesn't seem to grasp that we all are trying to tell him is you need to get better as a receiver because just being a good kick returner coming up in your fifth year, that's not going to keep you on the team. We have somebody like Stephon Diggs we could try out who can actually run routes and do the same thing. He's going to take your job from you. So this is the frustration that is Cordero Patterson. And as much as, if you guys remember, say people were like, oh, well, this could be Percy Harvin 2.0. Well, it's starting to kind of seem that way, just in a different annoyance and frustration. And I really hope it doesn't turn out that way because I was expecting him to just want to be out there doing whatever. He should be wanting to block. He should be able to run. But he's got this prima donna thing going on. It's really annoying.
yeah, I'm starting to fall off the Cordero Patterson bandwagon. I think a lot of fans are in the same predicament where you're starting to get frustrated with the guy because you just want him to you want to cheer for him and see him produce on the field, and then you hear stupid things like, "Oh, he's not happy because he had to play in the Titans game." Well, other veterans and starters were out there. I believe Gerald Hodges played for a little bit,
Yeah,
and you're Gerald Hodges complaining about it. Like, go take your reps, go do what you need to do to be a better receiver, because right now he's clear down on the depth chart, in my opinion. And the only thing keeping him afloat is his ability to return kicks.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And I think people are frustrated with the lack of effort they've seen. And that's not to say he's not out there training hard or whatever behind the scenes, because he very well could be. It's just the public perception of what he's doing
You also
doesn't look
hear
very good, and whether or not there's truth behind that, I don't know.
you also hear Adam, like where they say that, Mike Wallace is getting all the receivers to stick around after practice to catch balls. All the receivers except for Cordero Patterson, who probably should be out there catching balls after practice, but not
Absolutely.
him.
So that's a frustrating thing. That was the one quick hit that I kind of wanted to elaborate on a little bit. Is I know that we're all down on Cordero Patterson, but the fact still remains that he has some of the most freakish talent out there athletically. He's got speed, he's got elusiveness, he's got a lot of the traits that fans just love to see in players. and we're just hoping to see it all come together. And sadly, with how hard I pushed for wanting other guys in the past, I don't know how many times on this podcast I kept saying, all Christian Ponder needs is for things to click.
Mm-hmm.
I probably went and I've probably said that for a year and a half. Is that all he needs is for things to click and be able to realize that hey, I can take the time in the pocket to make my check downs, be more patient, and I don't want Cordero Patterson to be another one of those guys that we just keep saying all it takes is this little thing when that little thing just isn't going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I don't want. All right, so the Minnesota Vikings took on the Titans. We already talked a lot about that. Uh, it was one heck of a game if you like watching preseason games that a lot of people call meaningless, I guess. Now, the Vikings did lose this game by 7 points, 17-24. Puts an end. Sadly, Paul Allen's probably crying at home that the win streak is over for Mike Zimmer as a head coach during the preseason,
I'm
which is
kind of happy about
a
that. So we can
ridiculous stat I was tired
stop
of hearing
hearing
about.
about it.
What a meaningless quote. But still, the Vikings ended up losing that game. There was some good stuff, there was some bad stuff, but it's what we expected to see because these were guys struggling to make the team. We weren't expecting to come out and see just absolutely polished football because that's not what this final preseason game is about. It's about evaluating talent, figuring out which guys you're going to try to stick on the 53 to be backups, which guys are going to make the practice squad. This wasn't trying to figure out who you're starting. Well, I guess they did try to figure out a little bit who their starting middle linebacker is
Mm-hmm.
because that's still up for debate with Gerald Hodges making a pretty good impression there. But overall, it was more of a evaluation game than a positional game. So who did you guys really like in this one? For me personally, I'll start it off. I thought that Andrew Sendejo did enough in this game and over the course of the preseason to prove that he deserved a place on the roster, which I guess was verified by the fact that he is a part of the final 53. Andrew Sendejo, great special teams player, a safety that knows where to be. He's freakishly athletic too, and I personally I'm really excited about Andrew Sendejo. He had 4 total tackles in the game, one of them for a loss. He got my game ball.
Yeah, I like him starting alongside Harrison Smith out there on the field. A lot of people will say that he's kind of maybe a weak link, but I don't think so. I agree with your analysis of him, Adam.
Yeah, him and Blanton. I like that
Mm-hmm.
competition. I
Yep.
do.
What about you, Kyle? Who did you pick?
Well, my game ball, and I figured since this is the 5th preseason game for the Vikings, that I can go a little bit big picture and not just pick
Sure.
from the Titans, but overall throughout preseason. So I'm going to give it to a guy that I don't even think we really praised too much through.
Roger Goodell.
Yes, Roger Goodell, because I love Roger Goodell so much. You are not my game ball, Roger
Oh.
Goodell. No, wide receiver Isaac Fructi. Here's a guy, like you said, a local guy who came out and he's done enough throughout the preseason to where you can go, this guy has maybe a little bit of potential, and they stuck him on the practice squad, and I am interested to see if he can develop and kind of take the long road like what Adam Thielen did.
There you
I
go.
got it. Got it. Kind of take the long road and develop and, work his way out on special teams. And maybe in a couple years, we'll see Isaac Fructi out there making catches for Teddy Bridgewater with the starting offense. I would love that. So he's
And you got to admit, it probably wasn't the Vikings' first thought to keep another wide receiver on the practice squad when they're keeping six on the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
But for him to come out with the way he did, make an impression the way he did, for them to have 7 wide receivers throughout the regular roster and the practice squad,
It
pretty impressive.
it makes sense to me because you're looking at him as kind of like he's a project, obviously, because he's on the practice squad. So he's a project guy that you're looking at. Maybe Mike Wallace is going to be gone in a couple years, and maybe Cordero Patterson. We'll just say it. Maybe he's a bust, and okay, he's not on the team. And you have someone that maybe in a couple years you can develop and can be out there with, making plays with Teddy.
Right, you got Jarius Wright's contract coming up soon.
So it's like, yeah, we're set right now, but that's kind of a good future move for the team. So I'm going to give him my game ball.
Very cool.
Well,
Just
I'm
me.
gonna go with a kind of a homer. I'm out here in Virginia, and although Stephon Diggs continues to catch balls, got a touchdown this game, 8 receptions, 85 yards. If I had an honorable mention, it would be Diggsy. But when you get asked to throw the ball 41 times, and I don't care if it's against second and third string, that's a lot. And I think back since let's Paul Blart and segue back to Josh Freeman for 2 seconds.
Right.
We had the horrible New York Giants game where Josh Freeman
Oh.
stepped in after being on the team for like 3 days and just threw the ball like 40 times for no apparent reason.
Bill
And
Musgrave.
oh Jesus, I wonder why so many people got fired that year. I can't figure it out. Um, when you get a chance to come in the national stage, no matter it be preseason, and they ask you to throw the ball 41 times, he completed 27 of 41. I think that's very respectable. Had almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Key for me here, no interceptions. 101.6 quarterback rating. I know it's the preseason, but this is a kid coming out that I honestly didn't peg him to make the team. I thought he was a practice squad only guy, and he's going to be our third option. And the offense that he ran out at ODU, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they call it the no huddle. For him to have to sit down and learn plays and to actually call plays, this kid's got a lot of potential. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. Kind of a homer pick for me, but the stats really showed in this particular game. But hopefully we never see you play for us, Taylor, because that means we've already passed Teddy and Sean if we have to call you up. So
Well, let's be honest. Taylor Heineke playing well in that last preseason game was such a double-edged sword. Because if he hadn't played very well, there was still that slight chance that they could have slid him under the radar and put him on the practice squad.
mhm.
But him playing well shows that he is a guy that could be a quarterback 3. And then that forced the Vikings to keep him on the 53-man roster so that no other team would scoop him up for their practice squad or main roster.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's be honest, good quarterbacks are hard to find. You see all the big name quarterbacks that were released this offseason, all the guys that they're talking about that didn't make starts. Look at RG3, he even got benched this year.
Mm.
Quarterback positioning isn't what it used to be. It isn't always going to be the big name guy just has the job no matter what. And Heineke's one of those guys that can push. He's going to keep pushing. And the fact that he was able to push past being on the practice squad to being on the 53 is really impressive. So, congratulations there, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Love the way I talk to him like he's like a little dog or something. Way to go, buddy. Good job. The bad.
I'm gonna go back and bounce back the other way. I'm gonna be really, really cynical here. There's a reason why we only kept what 3, 4 running backs.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's give you some stats for you guys that didn't get to watch this game. 7 attempts for 15 yards. Juan Harris. 2.1 average.
Jump cut.
Dominique Williams. 9 carries for 24 yards. 2.7 average. Both of those guys didn't have a run longer than 7 yards. Holy crap. Taylor Heineke rushed twice for 21 yards. So I'm just going to leave that there. There's a reason why we kept the backs that we did. I really hope these guys, well, for the ones that made the practice squad, hope you can stay there. But, what a horrible game. And this
Fingers
is why.
crossed that this preseason's run game is not what we're actually going to see on the field. Adrian might make a big difference. Hopefully, we'll see some better blocking during the regular season. But the run game this preseason, has been brutal to watch.
It's been probably one of the worst, and it sucks because you want to protect Adrian, but at the same time, Monday can't come soon enough because since 2007, I think of the Vikings and I think of a good run game. So yeah, kind of itching for that.
My bad is going to go to Marcus Sherrills. He had a fumble lost on a punt return. He only had 2 tackles, no pass breakups. He's been very unimpressive this preseason to me. And it is kind of astounding that he's still sticking with the team somehow. So I'm not sure if they view him as a specialist, as a punt returner, or if they are seeing more out of him in the coverage game than I'm seeing. But Marcus Sherrills to me is just a guy that's absolutely struggling, and I hope he brings it and gets it together for the regular season because, like we said, it's less than a week away now.
I think he makes it. Well, he did make it on like the merits, like you said, of his special teams ability. And he is the punt returner, the default punt returner for the team, as well as being one of the best guys to just run down on coverage unit and
Right.
make plays. If you've noticed, though, I think you look at the big picture for his career, he's had up and down spurts like this periodically throughout it.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the par for him. Um, every year he's kind of the guy that you think the team is going to replace. He's a bubble player, but every year he's able to stick around, and I like him. I'm glad that Sherrills is still on the team. I'm a big fan of his, and like I said, I think he'll bounce back once regular season gets going. My donkey I am going to give collectively to the Minnesota Vikings backup offensive linemen as a whole, just all of them, guys that got cut, guys that are currently on the team, just all of them. And I'm gonna lump.
He means everyone except you, Joe Berger. You're great.
Yeah, Joe Berger's great. I'm gonna lump Rick Spielman into this as well too, because I think this team has potential to be a pretty good team this year, assuming offensive line does not get another injury at all for the remainder of the year, because this has the potential to be a really huge disaster, and the depth on our team, TJ Clemmings notwithstanding, sucks. I mean, it absolutely is atrocious, the depth that we got. Now, I realize that they've done some moves. They gave the pick to bring in the guy from San Diego.
Right.
We got Joe Berger. Like I said, I believe in Joe Berger. He's a good backup guy. But,
Yep.
Sully is having the back injury, so Berger could be starting at center for us. Like,
He very well could be, and I'm actually okay with that.
I'm okay with that too, but I mean that's also you're losing, if you get another guard that goes down, you don't have Joe Berger to plug in because all of a sudden he's playing center. And I
Right.
lumped Rick Spielman into this because I don't think they've done a good enough job at drafting and looking at free agents on the line. They bring in the big Polish guy who, like you said before, Adam, that's a good publicity stunt.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, it gets the fans going, that's for sure, but that was not ever any real competition for Matt Khalil, and I'm sorry, but Matt Khalil
No.
needs competition, and the idea that Taylor Heineke got the crap beat out of him, imagine if that was
Every game. He got beat up every game.
Yes. Imagine if that was Teddy Bridgewater. Guys, I don't want to see Teddy Bridgewater get beat up like that. I don't want to see our franchise young quarterback get put through that. So, that's my donkey. And like I said, I really hope that next year there's a major focus put on solidifying offensive line. Starters, backups,
Well,
rotational
let's talk about
guys.
another one of the main problems here is that the Vikings don't want to use a top draft pick on an
They
offensive
should.
lineman anymore.
They should. They should. They need to.
Fans would revolt. I don't know why, but they hate offensive linemen.
Yeah, well, when
They hate them.
when Teddy gets a
Yep.
broken leg and he's
There
throwing
you go.
interceptions and
You know
everyone
what
When the
they'd
run
hate
game
even more?
struggles.
You know what they would hate even more? This week's starting quarterback is Sean Hill, and everybody just finds that paper bag that we all have stashed in our closet because we've been Vikings fans for so long. You get it. So I'm 100% on board with that.
All right, I want to talk about two more things before we move on to talking about the future. First things first. Titans wide receiver Dorial Green Beckham. Is that guy a giant or what? Did you see him lining up next to some of those corners? 6'6", and he's standing next to a 5'9" corner.
Gotta be a tight end.
It was amazing.
I did not get to catch that. I unfortunately didn't have the internet to stream that.
It looked like a high school kid playing against Pee-wees. Just disgusting. And the second thing, I don't know if you guys were watching the Vikings broadcast. I didn't. I had to catch this on the replay. Okay, what Harrison Smith's new nickname that Everson Griffin
White
gave
chocolate.
him? White chocolate. What?
Oh,
Why?
I love Everson Griffin. I mean, it is just, he gives probably the best interviews.
If you're gonna wire someone for sound, wire
Everson
Everson Griffin.
Griffin. Just
Mm-hmm.
have a camera crew follow him around just in his day-to-day life. Because it's
Absolutely.
bound to be interesting.
For sure. Okay, so the Minnesota Vikings traveling to San Francisco for Monday Night Football. It's the second game of a doubleheader. It's going to be real late, so you night owls will have to be loving it while you day people are going to be struggling drinking your coffee to watch football.
Mm-hmm.
But I am one of those night owls, so I'll be watching and loving it. I'll have my game review up on the Viking Age as soon as it's over. There's a lot to look forward to in this game. It's going to be the first time we see Adrian Peterson in action this year. We get to see Teddy Bridgewater and trying to execute a game plan that's actually going to be a game plan now. It's not preseason action. They're going to actually be out there running plays. Be interesting to see how they get Mike Wallace involved in a way that they didn't this preseason. They had a nice long connection, but I don't think this preseason was about establishing the deep ball. I just think it was about making a relationship between the two players. So that's something to really look forward to going into the regular season. What are you guys looking forward to?
For this game Monday, um, I just wanted to read off some funniness on the practice squad and the reserve. I'm sorry, not the practice squad, the reserves. We have good old Jerome Simpson suspended for 6 games over there for San Francisco. And I don't know if anybody knows this. I just looked and found this out. Reggie Bush is the second running back for San Francisco. I did not know that. I'm very surprised.
Which kind of sucks because every time we play Reggie Bush, he seems to find a way to burn us.
Every time.
Yeah.
True.
But interestingly enough, they went with only 2 quarterbacks, and Blaine Gabbert is the second. So God help them in San Francisco if somebody tackles Colin Kaepernick the wrong way. I'm looking at their offense right now, and I have to say I was really down on them. If you guys haven't heard and you've been under a rock this whole year, San Fran's defense has taken a beating as far as people retiring or getting cut and leaving the team, et cetera, et cetera. But their offense is not as bad as I thought they were. They still very much have Vernon Davis.
Yeah, they're full of names.
They got a great running back, Carlos Hyde. Anquan Bolden and Torrey Smith are going to be the 2 wideouts. So this is going to be a great early test for Mike Zimmer and the defense. I'm really, obviously Adrian coming back is probably what I'm looking forward to the most. But if I had a number 2, I want to see what our defense does with an offense to where they have big names, even though some of them might be a little aged, and they have a quarterback that can move. That's still one of the biggest challenges in the NFL right now, quarterbacks that are mobile. So I'm ready to see what the line does, and I'm ready to see what the secondary does. I'm actually not worried at all about the linebacker situation. I think our linebackers are super athletic and young, and we still got old Greenway in there. So that's my take on the game Monday. And you're exactly right, Adam. I'm going to be struggling Tuesday morning next week, and it's going to be totally worth it.
Absolutely. Mr. West, what are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to John Gruden, for one thing. I don't know, are we going to have Gruden on ours, or are we going to have a different set? I don't know.
I don't know.
You know what? I bet they're the A team, so to speak, so they'll probably be the first game. We'll probably have a different set of announcers, maybe. I don't know. But either way, I'm looking forward to John Gruden on Monday Night Football because I freaking love him as an announcer. Adrian Peterson, the return of AP in Minnesota. I'm going to pose you guys a question. Over under on 100 yards rushing for Adrian Peterson. Just round table
over
real quick. Kyle Smith, you say over?
Absolutely over.
Mm-hmm. Adam Carlson?
I'm going to go under.
You're going to go under. How under?
Yeah. I'll say 82.
I am going to say over. He's going to set the rushing record for one game.
Ooh.
Yeah. How about that?
That is a hot take.
Gotta go bold.
Holy crap.
Gotta go big, gotta go bold, right?
There's your bold statement for the week, everybody. I don't have one that's going to top that.
I'm looking forward to seeing Teddy play for a full quarters and seeing what this offense underneath North Turner year 2 was able to look like. And I'm excited to see defense out there as well with all the pieces and players that you guys know. Guys like Everson Griffin, Harrison Smith, Xavier Rhodes. I'm looking forward to seeing all those guys and what kind of big plays that they can make for this team.
Really excited. Speaking of our offense, just wanted to give a shout out to my team. I picked up Charles Johnson as one of my bench players.
There you go.
And everybody was like, well, why didn't you take Mike Wallace? I'm telling you, Charles Johnson is going to be Teddy's go-to target. I'm not saying Mike's not going to make plays. I'm not saying Rudy won't get a lot of touchdowns in the end zone. But when you want to get that third down, I watched Charles Johnson this year. I'm so stoked to have him on my team, which is significantly named Show Me Your Teddies. I thank you.
I don't know. Personally, for me, I'm most looking forward to seeing if Teddy Bridgewater can execute on third downs and end drives in the end zone, because that was the one thing that I really thought was kind of a struggle from the season. I want to see the offense end the game with points, end the drives with points, not botched field goal attempts. Just touchdowns. We want touchdowns. All right, so we looked at that game. Just for the record, are any of us predicting that the Vikings aren't going to walk away with a win on this one?
No, I got us going with a win.
I expect it to be tough. I don't think it's going to be a give me as much as I thought it was earlier, but I do believe we can start the season right with a win on the road.
All right. With that, let's talk about our regular season record, because we aren't going to be doing a standard preseason prediction into the regular season episode, just because of how this preseason kind of leveled out. But because of that, let's try to fit it in anyway. Just we got our predictions of regular season records out there. I'm going to say the Vikings are going to have a 9-win team this year. It's a 2-win improvement. I know that that's not as much as a lot of people think it's going to be, but I think it's going to put them right there in contention for a wild card spot.
It's very respectable. What part of the season? Because that's how I'm going to kind of break two little points from mine down. What part do you think is going to make or break us to go 9-7? Are there any particular games or stretch of games that are probably going to seal that fate?
I think that the hardest stretch is going to start on week 13. Those back-to-back games. It's Sunday against Seattle, and then Thursday against the Cardinals. And I know a lot of people kind of sleep on the Cardinals because of their quarterback situation in the past, but that defense is for real, and that Seattle defense is for real. And those games back-to-back, week 13 and 14, are going to be brutal.
Well, you just stole one of my points. I have 2 points before I give you my prediction. And you just kind of you did the NFC for me, but I'll do both sides. The hardest 2 stretches, 2-week stretch in this whole entire season is going to be Seattle and Arizona. I thought with Seattle and Cam Chancellor's situation, if you guys aren't familiar with him or know, he's kind of holding out. He's a key part of the defense. They already lost Walter Thurman to Philly. I thought they were going to be hurting. They're not going to be hurting, and they used to be. Oh, well, their defense wins the championships. They have this kid named, I think his name's Lockett. He's been lighting it up in the preseason, returning kicks, catching deep balls from Russell Wilson, and they got a guy named, Jimmy Graham in free agency in a trade or whatever. So they are going to be the NFC team to beat yet again. And like you said, don't discount Arizona. We kind of pooped on them last year because they made the playoffs. And then they lost in the first round. They were on their third string quarterback going into the playoffs. Carson Palmer, I mean, when he's there, they're a different team. So that was the hardest part for me, breaking it down. And the switching to the AFC West, this is the dark horse this year. This was probably what will make or break us. Obviously besides our own division and beating division rivals, but don't sleep on Oakland. Don't discount the AFC West. The Chiefs have a solid defense. Anytime Peyton Manning's on the field, it scares me. And I absolutely don't ever sleep on Phillip Rivers either. He's always an underrated quarterback. So that being said, I have 5 losses for this team this year and 11 wins. Losses, I'll go skim over those. Our first loss, in my opinion, will be at Denver, which is going against something I said a long time ago.
It is.
Uh, the Lions away, we can't seem to find a way to beat them in Detroit, especially not. Oh God, last year was it was a bad game. I have two back-to-back losses, the only back-to-back losses of the year against Seattle and Arizona, and I hate to break it to you guys, it's not going to be 2012 again. It's not going to be 2013 beginning of the year when we beat the Packers to go to the playoffs. But I think we get a wild card spot at 11-5, but we lose a heartbreaker away for Week 17 to the Packers.
That would be heartbreaking to be 11-5 and not win the division, but that's the division that the Vikings are in. It's that competitive. It really is. Mr. West, what do you got?
I got us pegged as a 10-win team this year. I think that's pretty reasonable, realistic expectations for this team. Of course, it all depends on as the season's going. If Adrian gets going really good, hey, maybe I really do believe that Adrian is one of those players that can shift an extra one or two wins, just depending on how well he is performing. Plus, if Teddy continues to develop the way we hope, hey, there's another extra, maybe one or two that you can squeeze out. But for right now, I'm going to go with a 10-win team. I think just kind of my predictions, I'll keep it kind of quick here. I believe we're going to sweep Chicago in the division this year. It'll be the first time that the Vikings win in Soldier Field for a long, long, long time.
Since 2007.
Yes. I believe that we can finally do that. We'll sweep Chicago. I actually think that we could uh, sweep Detroit as well too, and beat them at home and at their home as well too. Green Bay is going to be tough. I know they've got some injuries that they are dealing with, but as long as they have Aaron Rodgers, they are still like the top team in the division. I don't think we win at Lambeau Field this year, and I think that very last game could be dependent on whether or not Green Bay is playing starters or not.
Yeah.
And if they have it locked up, it could be one of those things where, hey, they're playing backups, and maybe we get a win that way, maybe not. We'll see how it shakes out. Otherwise, I think we will beat the Denver Broncos. That's kind of my bold prediction, is that I am going to say that Peyton Manning is going to have the season where you look at him and you go, it is finally time for Peyton Manning to retire.
He's 39 this year.
Uh-huh. And remember the magical season that Brett Favre had? And everyone said, come back for one more year, Brett. Come back and do it. And he didn't look too good in 2010 for the Vikings.
Right.
I am going to say that Peyton Manning is going to have the 2010 Brett Favre season where you go, wow, it is really, really time for him to retire. I think my other bold prediction, then I'll pass it off to whatever you guys want to talk about next. The Seattle game is going to be competitive, and Mike Zimmer's defense is going to be dialed in, and it is going to keep us close. That game will come to a field goal. So Blair Walsh, I hope you have your problems figured out, because it could come down to a Blair Walsh kick or a miss as to whether or not that is a win or a loss. But I really think the Vikings are going to be dialed in for that one and are really going to give it their all.
Like Mr. Smith touched on, week 2 and 7 are to keep your eye on because Teddy Bridgewater, during his rookie year, had his two most horrific games against the Detroit Lions defense.
Mm-hmm.
And it not only did he play poorly, at times it looked absolutely ugly. For a guy that just had such an encouraging rookie season, if you only watched the tape of him against Detroit, you would think that he is not a good quarterback.
They knew how to get in his face and disrupt the hell out of
Absolutely.
him.
And I know that there have been some changes in that Detroit Lions defense, especially up front on the defensive line with Sue being gone this year. But it'll be interesting to see how Teddy Bridgewater can react to that because that's got to be in the back of his head somewhere. Just his inability to get things done against the Lions. So those are two games I'm going to be watching closely. Like I said, week 2, week 7, at least they're out of the way early if they are bad. But hopefully Teddy can overcome. On to the Purple People Podcast social media question of the week. I asked you guys, are you more optimistic or less encouraged by the team after seeing what they did this preseason? Alex Zeller says that the team exceeded his expectations and that he is more optimistic that this team will win 9 or 10 games and make the playoffs. So pretty cool there. Megan Bozen, awesome girl, regular listener,
Hey, Megan. Shout out to
one-time
Megan.
host.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's just bummed that the Titans beat us. That's all. Uh, Mitch, I'm sorry I'm going to absolutely butcher your last name. But Mitch
That's a tradition around here, too, right?
Hadjilseth,
Sure, you did better than I would have.
he says the way the team is looking, we should do good. And I agree. I agree. I'm excited about the way the team's looking. Thomas Bouge says, I'm sad the offensive line is still, I'll substitute the word urine poor. Outside of the starters, we need a lot of work. A lot of work.
Hey, I agree with him.
Corbin Johnson said that his expectations for the preseason were to win all the games and no major injuries. That's one hefty expectation. He said it didn't happen. He didn't expect Phil Lodeholt to get hurt, and he thought that he would be a major part of the offense this year, and he should have been. If he were healthy, he would have been a game changer, road grading offensive tackle. So, thanks for you guys' input. Next week, I'll be asking you guys, prior to the Monday Night Football game, who you think will be the player of the game and why?
Adrian.
Teddy.
Jeff
Ooh,
Locke.
that's a tough one.
Jeff Locke.
I hope we don't see Jeff Locke at all.
Yeah, me too.
Unless he's holding on extra points. That's the only time I want to see him.
I want to see
But
a Jeff Locke fake field goal try.
I'm going to go with Charles Johnson. And I'm going to make my final bold statement just because, heck, why not? I'll wing it. I think Teddy Bridgewater is going to miss having a reliable veteran wide receiver more than people think. I love Charles Johnson. I do. And I think that Mike Wallace can do some very interesting things for this offense. But there were times last year when Teddy Bridgewater was scrambling around looking to a wide receiver to make a play, and he was always looking to Greg Jennings. I think that the Vikings are going to miss Greg Jennings more than we think, and I think that Teddy's not going to be absolutely sure to find a guy he can trust. I know him and Charles Johnson are working on developing that chemistry, and we saw some pretty good stuff towards the end of last year. But it's going to take a while to figure out who his go-to guy is going to be now with Jennings gone.
Lots of Kyle Rudolph.
We'll see. We'll see. Now, since the regular season is starting, remember, if you haven't gone and signed up for our Survival League where you can win a Minnesota Vikings jersey of your choice, head over and do it as soon as you can, because as soon as the regular season kicks off on Thursday, you can't sign up anymore. And if you got a chance to win a free jersey, I say go for it. And that contest was as a thanks to the people who contributed to our GoFundMe campaign to be able to put us up on iTunes and Stitcher and Podomatic at all times. And since then, we have had no interruptions.
Yay!
Yeah!
Woo!
Hey.
Good stuff. So that's all I have for this week. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about?
I have something fun.
I like fun.
I like something fun here. This is on...
We want fun.
I wanted to do this for the 49ers segment, but I kind of forgot because I didn't have it pulled up. So I had to do some quick Googling, but I found this, and it is... You guys know 49ers lost a lot of people last year. But maybe if you're one of those people who are like, you spend so much time with the Minnesota Vikings that you don't know the other rosters forwards and backwards like you know our own. So maybe you look at it and you don't really get what that would do to the Minnesota Vikings. Well, someone took the time to figure out for every team in the roster based on what their depth chart and their starters were from last year. If you were to plug all of the losses from the 49ers onto the Minnesota Vikings, this is what it would have looked like. So sit back and listen to this list and tell me if you would be crapping your pants if you were a Vikings fan. We would have lost head coach Mike Zimmer, Greg Jennings, Jarius Wright, Cordero Patterson, Matt Asiata, Charlie Johnson, Phil Lodeholt, Michael Harris, Sharif Floyd, Chad Greenway, Brandon Watts, Jasper Brinkley, Audie Cole, Xavier Rhodes, Captain Munnerlin, Marcus Sherrills, and Jeff Locke. Could you imagine, Vikings fan, if we had lost all of those players? Because that would have been our equivalent to what happened to the 49ers last year.
But we still got
Hello.
Teddy, right?
Hello, number one pick.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, hey, it's the NFL. You hate to write off any team because every team is talented and tough. But wow, did the 49ers ever get decimated on just players that they lost?
Yeah, big names.
Mhm.
Patrick Willis being
A
probably the
surprise.
most recognizable. Chris Borland, sad to see him go. Talented young linebacker. There were plenty of guys that just you didn't expect to see go that did.
I've actually got a weird thing for the fans because I love the interaction, and we seem to always have people that are spirited and opinionated. So we did our prediction. If you want to go in depth, and this doesn't have to be the social media question since we named one, but out of curiosity, I'll put it on the Facebook page and the Twitter page as well. Tell us what you think our record's going to be. If you want to give us a game by game, even better. We'll interact.
Sure.
Thanks for sending messages, by the way. Had a couple messages over the weekend. We usually respond to those instantly. So, yeah, give us your thoughts. I'm curious to see what the fans think because we have 3 different opinions here, and I'm not saying that any one of them are wrong. Some people like to go in reality and say maybe the safe side. I'm kind of a sucker to always look up. That's just how I've naturally been, and such is life as a Vikings fan. But you guys out there, give us your prediction of the season. What are we going to do? Or do we make the playoffs? How do we make the playoffs? I would love to know what you guys think.
Absolutely. Be sure to check us out on the Facebook page. Head on over to Twitter at Purple People Pod. You can catch us on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, any of the major places where you listen to podcasts, really. You can catch my work over on the Viking Age. You can check out Mr. West's photography.
Mm-hmm.
I've posted up a link to that.
Awesome.
And that's all I've got for this week. I'm guessing you guys are done too, or do you got anything?
I think we can tell everyone. I'll do it for you, Adam, this week. I'll tell everyone to stay classy, Minnesota.
Nice.